I got my gold chain swinging and my phone stay ringing. All these girls keep singing to me.
Hello and welcome to 20 Holes of Disc Golf with Bryan Ganis. Right here we're having a good look at hole 5, which was my starting hole. Hole 5 is 354 feet with a long fairway going straight down. Right here you can see a gully. A lot of discs tend to catch here. There are two lines here. You have a hyzer route to the right and a straight shot going down the middle. It does look like I'm going to throw my Valkyrie just straight up and down the gut. I got a nice little turnover and put me right down there in that gully and was able to cash in for a super good birdie right here. I did complain a little bit about starting on one of the hardest holes that I find here at North Concho in San Angelo, Texas. But yeah. Anyways, moving on to hole 6. Hole 6 is only about 202 feet, or 204 feet, I apologize. You do have multiple routes. There's a hyzer route, a forehand route, and a straight up the gut route. I typically take a Toro and go with a forehand route just off to the left here. It does seem that unfortunately I somehow ended up turning it over. It wasn't that much of a windy day, so it was kind of weird. Put me in this weird spot to the left. Just gonna try and pitch up and kind of give it a half bid, but nothing too crazy because I'm already 1 under and I don't quite want to ruin my round. Was able to just tap in and take an easy par here. This is a super easy birdie. Shouldn't have happened, so kind of unfortunate. Hole 7, or technically would be my hole 3, is a very simple shot. You can either go straight at it or you just go wide hyzer, 354 feet. And typically people either will turn it over and end up on the street on the right side, or they'll pull it early and end up on the trees on the left. I typically will pull it early, and right here I have a great drive, but as you can see I ended up in the brush just to the left. And I struggled with figuring out how I wanted to putt, so I tried giving a straddle putt and going straight at it. Ended up missing, just pitched out and taking another par. So yeah. Hole 8, or my hole 4, is a very simple hole. It is an island hole, so you do have to make it into the island right there where those rocks are. The community made that. It's just a really simple hole, 267 feet. Depending on the day, I'll either throw a mid-range or a putter. Here, I'm throwing a Meridian Ravine, just trying to go straight at it. Ooh, and I yank it to the right. Doesn't look like a great shot. I am going to be proceeding to the drop zone. I just take my horny toad on a easy pitch up with a forehand here. And it does look like I go just a touch deep, but should be able to just almost tap in for a bogey, unfortunately. Moving on to hole 9, which is a 336-foot par 3. There's multiple routes you can go. You can go straight at it. I personally like going with the giant hyzer route off to the right and skipping in right there where those trees are to the right. This hole is one of those holes that I personally think should be birdieable. I took a TI Force right here, signature series. I think it's like Paul McBeth and Nate Doss. And again, just go with the high hyzer off to the right and end up right here in a great spot. And I have a decent look at birdie right here.
Oh yeah, Brian. Nice shot.
Moving on to hole 10 is a 228-foot par 3. All of these holes tend to be a par 3. North Concho is a 10-hole course. That is why it was a 20 holes of disc golf round. You have a straight line, or some people don't notice, but there's actually a hyzer route off to the right, and you can just play right over the trees, taking all the trees out of play and just going right over everything and spiking down on the basket. And dang, did I almost ace that hole. Wow. You can see where my disc hit the ground right there. This is putting me at 2 down. Next we have hole 1. Hole 1's actually a tricky hole. That little ravine right there is considered OB. You do have OB to the street left. And it is just tucked around this tree right here. It's a 369-foot par 3. I took a baby destroyer, which is a very lightweight destroyer, and man, did I yank it to the right. Terrible shot. Does look like I barely got off the tee pad and hit the tree right there to the right. Here, I was kind of in a predicament. I was thinking about going with the high hyzer route over the trees and or a forehand route off to the left. And instead, I decided to take my ravine and try to go straight at it, and I just completely missed my line and hit that tree. I was pretty frustrated with that because at that point I had known that I was probably going to take a bogey right here. And I'm just trying to pitch up, and I tried to get around the wall with my horny toad, but that just didn't work. And obviously you can just see my frustration, so I'm just pretty upset at this point. I'm going to try and tap in for birdie here, but again, I just rushed my putt, and I ended up taking a 5 here, unfortunately. Hole 2, really short hole. These 2 trees right here that you see that are kind of dead actually are no longer there. This is a 237-foot par 3. Really simple. Just take a mid-range or a driver that's going to skip right there, and it can possibly skip in for the ace. I throw my Toro here, put it on as flat as possible, and put it out to the right, and just try to let it skip in. I put it a little short, but I have an amazing putt that puts me back to even after being at 1 over. So this was able to build my confidence up just a little bit. Moving on to the next hole, it's hole 3, which is a 414-foot par 4 with an elevated basket. As you can see, it does come straight down here. This is a wide opening. This is if you were to go straight at it. A lot of the pros actually tend to throw over the trees. One of my buddies was actually telling me about a guy he interviewed, and he took that high hyzer route like that. I accidentally pulled the baby destroyer again off to the right, but luckily it just was a straight hyzer pretty much, and just put me kind of out in a weird spot. But I still had to look at the basket. I tried pitching up, and I hit the tree and get a lucky break, and lucky enough was able to save the par right here. So that was a good thing. Moving on to hole 4, 204 feet. There's 3 different routes. Again, straight at it, hyzer route off to the right, and then a forehand hyzer off to the left. I personally like the kind of straight at it and hyzer kind of forehand route. That's the way I like to play it. This hole is super easy to blow straight by the basket though. So I threw my Buzz OS here, and unfortunately I threw it straight in the ground. Started right here, was thinking to play aggressively for some reason, and I have no idea what I was thinking here to throw my putter and approach like that, but got a lucky break from the tree, so I was able to have a look to try and save my par. And again, just rushing my putt and just completely missed. Just dumb things that I'm doing that are hurting me. And so I ended up taking another bogey here. But yeah, I think I just started playing a little too aggressive here and was just hurting myself. So here we are, back to hole 5 again. And I threw my Gorgon and tried to hit the same line and completely missed and hit the first tree available. So I took my ravine, and I'm trying to pitch up again to just get me a look at the par. Came up short, had a decent approach shot with my putter, but again, just too aggressive, and I'm ended up taking another bogey, and next thing you know, here we are sitting at 2 over, and this is just hurting my round at this point. Back to hole 6, I throw my Toro, and I told myself to just trust my shot and be patient for the birdies, and they would come while I was on the tee box. And I ended up having a great shot and a look at birdie. And I was able to cash in, and now we're back down to 1 over. So we're trying to make a run to try and come back and get in first place for this fall series. At this time, I was in probably about third or fourth place, and I was trying to chase down the leader. He's a friend of mine. His name's James, who played an immaculate round, and at this time, I knew that he was at 2 down, and I was at 2 over, so I knew I had to lock in here. You couldn't see the angle that I was at, but I had to throw a forehand putt/approach to try and get in the basket, and I ended up chaining out. And here we are again on the island hole. I threw my Luna. I had a tailwind and was able to have an amazing shot to get onto the island and was able to have a look at birdie, cash that in, putting me back down to even. And we were kind of already taking off. I was feeling the momentum. I got to this tee box. I felt I should throw my force again and was hitting that hyzer line. Gave me a great look at the birdie again, almost the exact same spot. Able to cash that one in, and I was just on fire at this point. Nothing was really going to stop me at this point. Moving on to hole 10, I grabbed my eagle, threw the hyzer out again, and I almost aced this hole again, smacking straight down to the basket, probably about 5-6 feet to the right of the basket. Here I am tapping in my birdie again. Moving on, so at this point I have gotten a turkey and I'm just completely locked in. You can just see me walking away like I own this place. Threw my baby destroyer again, going all the way down the fairway. Actually was probably about 10 to 12 feet away from parking the actual hole itself. This tree was slightly in my way, but I was able to put enough hyzer on the disc and was able to cash in the birdie on hole 1, which was an amazing birdie. I hardly ever birdie that hole, so that was such a good feeling. And at this point, I'm just completely locked. Here I am on hole 2, threw my Toro again, and went a little deep, probably like 12, 13 feet deep into the woods. But I could see a little window, and I'm just sitting here trying to punch in my birdie, and I got it again. And at this point, nothing was going to stop me. Here I am on the tee box of hole 3. Again, pulled my drive off to the right. And at this point, I was a little worried what was going to happen. So I ended up bogeying that hole. So unfortunately, I ended up bogeying that hole. But the other thing is my phone died, so I wasn't able to record the rest of the round. So I bogeyed that hole, and then I moved on to what would have been hole 4, which would have been my hole 20. On the bright side, what I did was I threw my Buzz OS, and I just got a little bit more aggressive with it and overshot the basket probably about 20 feet. But on the bright side, I was able to slam it in for a birdie, which put me down at 4 down. So my score didn't change after I went on that hot streak. And the other thing is I was able to clutch up the win. So I came back from a 2 over round that I ended up causing for no reason, went on a hot streak, came back, and was able to win the Weekenders round 4. Which was just a great feeling. And then we did a CTP, and I was able to walk away with a brand new disc. So, I mean, hey, a win-win. Thank you for watching this. I think this might be something that I want to try and get into as far as recording and stuff like that. And, yeah, so... anyways, like, subscribe, share. If you want to see more content, let me know if there's any ideas you have for content. Yeah, just put them down in the comment section below. Bye.